So Meteor Man came down from the heavens to teach the Harfoots about friendship. Welcome to Voice of the Fat Mantis and my review of Episode 3 of Amazon Prime's The Rings of Power, the origin of Lord of the Rings. And as this show unfolds, it is becoming very clear that it is very much an origin story, despite people claiming it's not, because it seems that every activity these people are engaging in has everything to do with the Lord of the Rings. It's all getting set up here. It's interesting to actually watch and unfold, and we're going to hit up every topic and every angle and all the best fan theories. But before you do, I'm going to have to ask that you like, share, and subscribe to Voice of the Fat Mantis so you can get all the information, all the videos, all the nerd news that's fit to print. Now let's get into it. So it starts off with Hot Elf, otherwise known as his Christian given name, Arendar. And of all the places he was snatched, which happened at the end of last episode, I was not expecting him to end up on a chain gang amongst some orcs being forced to build a series of tunnels and eventually what I believe to either be a city or a tower. I believe that they are the slaves that are going to be building either Mordor or the actual tower itself. However, they're not there yet. They're nowhere near Mount Doom. I don't know if it's called Mount Doom back there, but they're clearly having them build something that's of importance. So remember, it's built at the foot of, Mordor is at the foot of Mount Doom, so it has to be by a vicious volcano to actually be Mordor. But it's clear that's what's going on, and he ends up in a pit, in a chain gang with none other than his friends, his friend elves, other rangers of the wood elf assortment. And I was like, well, I guess you didn't have to go venture to that town where everyone was poisoned because they were eventually going to snatch you all. That's pretty much going on. You know, they're snatching people out here. You know, you got to hide your wives and hide your kids, man, because the orcs are going to get you. And so what happens is something interesting. When they attempt to escape or have fights with the orcs, their battle prowess reaches superhuman levels, similar to Galadriel. Galadriel. I hate this woman's name. Can we just call her G or something, or Al or Gal? Let's call her Gal. So similar to Gal, because they are able to whip their chains like their fancy whips, and they're doing flips. And I was like, oh, all the heroes have heroic fighting skills similar to Legolas. It's not just the Mary Sue, and that kind of brought down her Mary Sue levels a few notches, and I appreciate that. I actually like that type of fighting when done appropriately, and if everyone's going to be doing it, I'm into it. There was some real brutality, and I gotta say this episode really did sum up what it is. Like, I know it's a fantastical prison, but they summed up the fear of being the imprisoned very well. Like when that scene when they had to drink the water, you knew something horrible was going to happen. You just didn't know what. And when it finally happens, you're like, these poor men. And later on, when they force him to cut down a tree, and he's a wood elf, so you know these Sylvan elves, they love their trees. It's like a religion. In their own creation myth, they were once trees, and the gods bestowed them sentience. So it's very bad that he was forced to cut down a tree, but it just shows how the orcs are just vile, and they dehumanize or de-elf these guys by making them just be disgusting animals. And it was dehumanizing. It was vulgar to watch. It was awesome, actually, I gotta say. Now, I am a little annoyed with the episode because it didn't show my favorite guy, Elrond. I love him. He's my favorite dude, but I guess there just wasn't time for him. But you know, it seems like it's shaping up that one of the problems with the show is there's just too many characters. And in this episode alone, they add a ton of characters. Do I mean a lot of characters? No. I mean, like, they added 6 or 7 characters, which in a show world is like an entire new cast. And they're all humans. Because when we get to Gal's part of the story, she ends up going to the island nation of Numenor. And it's a legendary, enlightened city of enlightened humans. They're not like the riffraff on the mainland. They're living the dream. They're halfway to Valinor, which means they're like on the verge of being immortals or great epic heroes or godly figures. And so they're enlightened. Everything's great on this island, and we meet a bunch of characters. The sea captain who saved Gal and Halbred, and, you know, his entire family, and the queen of the land. And then we are introduced to a very important person who is the sea captain's son. Now, he is Isildur. Now, if you know Isildur, you've probably heard his name mentioned in the original Lord of the Rings, if you're a non-book reading normie like me. And he is the one who was fated in the epic battle against Sauron to cut off Sauron's fingers, meaning, you know, disconnecting him from the ring of power and basically dethroning him. And then I believe he will end up uniting the human nations and become the first, or maybe not the first, but an important king in the line of succession. And I believe our king from Return of the King was one of his descendants. It's great to see this. I like that this origin is unfolding, the origins of the Lord of the Rings. I just wish they could do it in less characters. I know they were trying to show off their budget. Like, they were literally like saying, like, we're spending $1 billion on this. Quick, waste money to show everyone how elaborate a show we can make. And I really hate wasting money. I'm basically I'm Uncle Scrooge, basically. I am stingy, especially with my budgets of shows. You do not need half these characters. I doubt any of them, I doubt half of them are going to excel to the point of like you're excited to see them. And I don't like that they have to shelve characters per episode. Now, when we're on there, we find out that the first king of the Númenors was none other than Elrond's brother, the elf who chose to live the human life. Now, we didn't physically see him, but he is talked about, and I believe that he is somewhere on the island, and I can't wait to meet this character. But ultimately, we get to finally see Galadriel having problems. I know everyone says she's a Mary Sue. I feel like less of that is happening. Like, she really is up, pardon my French, streak. She can't get a boat. She has no respect from the humans on board there, which is hard because high elves are used to getting their asses kissed. You know, if I was living in that world, between you and me, I would never kiss an elf's ass. That's a fat mantis promise. I will never kiss one of their ass. But anyway, she's having problems there, and she's going to realize that she needs to work on making allies and friendships rather than just being like, I'm a bougie bitch. Everyone bow to me, which has been her attitude so far. I think that she's being taken down a notch, and I'm enjoying watching that. Come on, face it. We all enjoy watching a rich chick get put in her place. And so I hope this trend continues until she becomes a more humble version of herself, and then she's able to continue her journey. It is funny that her original intent 2 episodes back was that she's like, I'm going to abandon this ship so I can go on an important quest. And all she's had is side quests and being sidebarred and just being delayed. It probably would have been more time efficient to go back to Valinor and then steal a ship there and come back. But, you know, it's the age of adventure. Now, instead of going to my man Elrond, they go back to the Harfoots. Now, the Harfoots, this is where really, quote-unquote, the human aspect of things go on. We learn about their migration patterns and that it is a very deadly, courageous thing that they're doing. They migrate, but it's not always safe. And before they go on each migration, I don't know if they stay the year or several years, but they have a memoriam for those who don't make it along the way. Because they're hobbit size, small little guys, that, you know, sometimes their people get carried off by wolves or landslides, and just horrible things happen to them while they're migrating. It is hard to be a nomad in this world, and I feel for them. And they actually express their fears, their horrible, dark fears about being left in alone or left behind or not making it. And that's what Brandy's parents are all about. They're like, you know, it's such a burden as you get older to travel like that. I felt for them so much. And of course, what should happen? But Brandy's connection to the mage, Meteor Man, is revealed, and it makes her family get punished, and they get put at the back, the most dangerous spot of the migrating line. and you kind of feel for her. Actually, another interesting part was when they were doing the names of the memoriams. They don't go into the details, but Proudfellow was the last names of 2 of the people on the list of people who died, and that is the last name of Brandy's sidekick. And you saw the tears in her eyes, which I'm assuming are her parents. And to be honest, I felt that. I felt her pain, man. It's rough out here being a hobbit. I thought it was heartwarming, but ultimately, a strange thing ends up happening. They're having trouble with their wagon, and they're in the back, so no one can help them. But suddenly, the big human man comes, Meteor Man, and he's like, "We are friends," or he says something like "friends," and they're like, "Oh, he's learning a hobbit tongue," and he starts helping them with their cart, and they're like, "The power of friendship will save the day." Now, here's the deal. I still think he is evil. I think he's vile evil, and I'm going to break this down right now. When they're talking about Sauron in the other part of the story on Numenor, they're talking about the evils of Sauron and where could Sauron be, and then they jump to the Meteor Man story, particularly Meteor Man himself. Now, once again, this could just be trying to trick us into it, but I think all this friendship routine, I don't trust it. Anytime someone walks up to me and they're like, "I want to be your friend," do not trust these people. It's too good to be true. I really do think that he's up to no good, and I think bad things are going to come about from this gentleman. Now, if he's not Sauron, then maybe this other guy is. However, we're only on episode 3. So this other guy I'm about to talk to, I think he's a red herring, and that's why I'm doubling down on the Meteor Man theory. They jump back in the final 10 minutes of the show to the Chain Gang elves, and Hot Elf and his friends are trying to escape. They're like, "We're going to do our escape," and they man their escape. They have a thought out plan. They're doing crazy kung fu moves. They're fighting the orcs, which was a lot of fun, and unfortunately, they all are defeated. His entire crew is killed. He's beaten down, and he's taken to go see Adar. Adar is an elven word for Sauron, and the person that the orcs are following. He's tied up, and he's about to be presented before him, and they actually show this man, the Adar, the Sauron figure, come forward, and he looks everything you would expect. He looks like some dark elf-looking madman coming out, and he's like pure evil, and that's why there is no way in hell he is Sauron. This show, one of the main storylines is trying to hunt Sauron down and figure out where he's hiding. There is no way they're handing that to us this quickly. This is total misdirect. I'm not falling for it. Ultimately, I like this episode. I think it's the best episode so far, and I really am enjoying, this is high fantasy, and tonight I get to watch my Game of Thrones, which is low fantasy with sex and depravity. It's the best of all worlds. But the real question is, what did you think of this episode? Please let me know down in the comments. Remember to give this video a like, subscribe to this channel, and spread the word about Voice of the Fat Mantis. Keep tuning in for all the best nerd news, fantasy reviews, interviews, and shenanigans. Until next time, ciao for now.